6 o'clock, Tuesday, April 11th, 2023. I'd like to call this meeting of the Montgomery City Council into session at this time. We do have a quorum present. T.J. Wilkerson is not here, and Carol Langley is not present as well. We ask that everyone silence your cell phones to avoid any interruptions to our meeting, please, at this time. We appreciate everyone tuning in from the outside and those who join us here this evening. So with that, I'd like to invite you to stand for the invocation and the pledge to our flags. Heavenly Father, we ask for your grace and your presence to be with us as we navigate difficult waters and difficult decisions. May we be earnestly and honestly seeking what is best for our city. We know we're blessed. We also know that we're challenged. And we know that you are infinitely able to give us the grace sufficient and the wisdom to move forward in a way that's most prudent, in a way that brings glory to you. As we conduct our business, may we honor you as well in what we speak and what we do. And as we move forward, grant us that wisdom leading to discernment. And we ask your grace on our city, our families, our institutions. Keep us safe, keep us healthy. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
The American flag, pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To the Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
It's good to have our scout with us today. Would you like to say anything? Just thought I'd ask, but welcome. Let's see if I can get my timer up here. All right, under Visitors Citizens Forum, I just had the one, right? Bill Clevenger. State your name, address.
Myron, is there a way for you to speak up? Because we're way farther back here than
Okay.
normal. I apologize.
I sure will. Bill Clevenger, step up, please.
Don't forget your announcements.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bill.
Go sit down. Go sit down.
Thank you for that. Went right over that. Mr. Tom Hoyt, would you join me here in front? Tom Hoyt is taking over the library.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Well, Tom's a good man. We have an outstanding library, as many of you know, much visited, much used, and we want to see that continue. And so this is actually, there's a library week, but I won't turn it into a month. And so we invited him to come. So I have a proclamation here, whereas libraries are accessible and inclusive places that foster a sense of community unity, to allow all to pursue their passions and engage in lifelong learning. And whereas libraries connect people to technology, providing access to internet, computers, as well as providing training that is critical for assessing education and employment opportunities. And whereas today's libraries and their services extend far beyond the four walls of a building, and everyone is welcome to use the resources which has adapted to the ever-changing needs of their communities. And whereas libraries strive to develop and maintain programs and collections that are as diverse as the populations they serve and ensure equity of access for all. And whereas libraries have long served as trusted and treasured institutions for all members of the community, regardless of race, ethnicity, creed, ability, age, sexual orientation, gender identity, or socioeconomic status. And whereas libraries such as Charles B. Stewart Library West Branch are the cornerstones of democracy, promoting the free exchange of information and ideas for all. Whereas libraries, librarians, and library workers are joining library supporters and advocates across the nation to celebrate National Library Month by promoting the theme, "There is more to the story." Now, I, Byron Sanford, Mayor of the City of Montgomery, Texas, do hereby proclaim April as National Library Month.
Mayor, let everybody know also that the Friends of the Library is an advocate for the library itself, which is a community, a countywide thing. But if anybody would like an application to join, it's only $10 a year. I have several up here for anybody who would like. Dave, would you like one?
I'll pick up one.
I would certainly hope that everybody could at least look into joining, because it does benefit. Chris will be back there. He'll tell you that it will benefit the library a great deal. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Clevenger.
Good evening, everyone. Hope everybody had a blessed and happy Easter. So I attended a workshop this evening about food truck ordinances and things like that. So I just want to bring that on record and get everybody aware. I think more importantly, as this election cycle comes to, we have candidates running for office, and we have naturally our candidates or our current members of city council, and to come back around to the ordinances and stuff for food trucks and vendors as a whole. I think again with the mass, the enormous amount of growth that Montgomery and the immediate areas surrounding the city itself is seeing, we're God bless the fact that we have great youth groups and churches that are reaching out to our youth. But as a whole, as a city, really isn't much to do for kids from all ages. And I think as these candidates go around door to door and they're seeking your vote, I would look at it as one of the main questions I would ask them, and I would ask the current city council is, as a whole, we should be working with business owners, property developers, prospective property development, and be out there shaking the bushes, trying to find the investments that want to bring things that capture the youth. I mean, we know it's a gauntlet to run 105 to the Woodlands down, but there's growth happening all around us that is going to be grabbing all these families and kids' attention, but there's not really anything here grabbing the attention of the kids, and so we're sending them off, and we're sending those dollars off. I know there's a lot of kids that go through the library and things like that, and they do the 7th grade project, and we get people, we see them walking around doing that, and I applaud that. I think every community should do that and bring history to the forefront. But you know, we all know the fact that attention spans are very short, and trying to capture that, and ultimately as a whole, it would be nice to see more friendly kid and family interaction inside the city as itself as we grow into a more, well, not into a more, but as we grow further in our households and family numbers continue, our citizens' rosters keep growing. I think we need to look and be more focused on the fact that maybe not so much a food truck ordinance, but in bringing things here for the community, kids, especially kids and families. And that's it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, consent agenda item 1, approval of the meeting minutes of City Council and Zoning Board of Adjustment meeting 3/28/23. Council have any questions on those minutes?
No, sir.
If not, I entertain a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of April 3rd, or excuse me, March 28th, 2023.
Motion by Casey, do we have a second? Second by Cheryl. Motion's debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of approving item 1's minutes as presented, say yes.
Yes.
Anyone approve, say no. We'll approve the minutes as stated. Item 2, consideration and possible action on approval of 2 BNSF railway pipeline licenses for the sanitary sewer force main and 12-inch water line projects on Old Plantersville Road.
Were you wanting somebody to present on that, Mayor?
Consent, it should have been read together, maybe.
What?
It's under consent. Do you want? Did you
Well, we
want?
chose not
I
to
mean-
consent.
Okay. So items 2 through 6, I'm a little confused how this is written.
So the consent agenda was items 2 through 6, but
Yeah, if you
So
want to
we can go
if you
2
want to
through
pull some of
6.
those and go over some of those.
Okay,
individually.
so do we, as a council, want to take them individually, 2 through 6, or 2 through 6 together? Can you do it that way?
so I
it
don't
doesn't
want
go
to
to
consent to hold all 6 items.
So which ones would you want to take?
The 1 through 3. So we did the meeting, so 2 and 3 we can
So
consent.
2 and 3 we
But I have
consent.
some questions for 4, 5, and 6.
Okay, we have a motion by Casey,
Second.
second by Cheryl. Motion's debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of taking items 4, 5, and 6 separate, or 2 and 3? What should it be, 2 and 3 consent?
Right.
Okay, so items 2 and 3 together as approval together, items 2 and 3. All in favor say yes.
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 Anyone opposed say no. And so items 1, 2, and 3 are on the consent agenda, I suppose, right? All right. Item 4, consideration possible action on cost, price analysis, and profit negotiation procedures for federal grants.
Thanks, Mayor. These next 3 items will be presented by Mr. Corkadell.
Okay.
Mayor, Council, good evening. What questions can I answer for you on these 3 items?
So what exactly are you changing?
This updated document, I do not know the differences between when we started this program or when we started this grant. This is a monitoring review. So when you start a grant project, the grant administrator is going to line up all the policies and the procedures that you need to be compliant to use grant funds. As you get ready to close out a grant project, the GLO comes back and anything that uses federal funds, they do a monitoring review on where they just ensure that the policies and procedures that you have in place are current. So since we started this in probably 2016, 2017, what the grant administrator has, she's the one who has given us these 3 documents to update. Again, and it just ensures that what we have on the books matches state and federal law for use of grant funds. I don't know the specific details of what is different in this version versus the one that the city adopted when we started.
Right, so these policies and procedures are being dictated to us by an outside source, and we don't know what it says.
Well, it's by the grant administrator that we hired to keep us compliant with the terms of the grant and with the, and again, anytime we use federal funds, the federal government says you have to do A, B, and C to be able to be eligible to use these funds. That's what these 3
And that-
documents here are.
It's to just qualify for grants we already have, or a grant we're trying to get?
It's to be compliant with the requirements of the grant that we're operating under now.
Okay.
So again, this is kind of a closeout process where we adopted a whole bunch of policies that are related to federal grants when we started this grant. Now, as we get ready to close this out, the city goes through the same monitoring type review. So what this does is ensures that our policies match what the state and federal government is going to be looking for
Okay.
in terms of our policies. And again, these are related only to federal grants, and the GLO grant's the only one that we have right now.
Okay. So I don't want to sound like the guy wearing the aluminum foil on my head, but I don't really trust our federal government. So I just want to know what they're asking us to hey, we're telling them we're going to comply. I just would like to know what we're complying to.
Combining with the steps of these 3 policy documents, both the procurement, the cost price analysis, and the financial policies. These are practices that we've done. We've met all the requirements. Say for the cost price analysis, when we went out for a bid, there's a team that was set up back in 2018 that went through the engineering bids, that went through the review process, they recommended the best engineer for the job on the information they had at the time. So we followed the steps that are outlined in this policy. This policy just affirms and takes away any chance that they're going to find one thing to provide a comment on and say, well, you don't have a purchasing policy that says this, we're going to mark, you get a mark on your scoring.
Okay.
So is item 4, 5, and 6 together under that deadline of June 1 that the grant administrators are articulated that we had a,
This is more in the next few weeks. So we learned a week and a half ago about the monitoring review. We had a 2-hour meeting on Friday with 3 folks from the GLO, with our grant administrator and the grant engineer. And so this is on a tighter timeline because it's specifically related to the monitoring review, which is underway now, which we hope to have on Friday, kind of a closing meeting on. So this is faster than June 1, so I want to say this.
okay. Because they mentioned that in an email that something that needed to be tied up
Oh, yeah,
before
we're
June.
still on track to close out the grant in
Yes.
June, and we are.
Okay.
So these are the federal, is the bureaucracy they're layering on us for us getting federal money.
Well, if there's any, if 4, 5, and 6 are tied together,
We can take those.
can we
in.
take those? Is council good with that? We good? 4, 5, and 6 are similar? Okay, so need a motion to approve items 4, 5, and 6.
I'll make the motion to approve items 4, 5, and 6, the consideration and possible action of the financial policy, the negotiation procedures, and the procurement policies to update for, well, how does it say? Doesn't really say it. For our federal grant.
I second
Who's the second? Cheryl? Cheryl is the second. Motion's debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of approving items 4, 5, and 6 as stated, say yes.
Yes.
it. Yes. Yeah.
Anyone opposed, say no. And we will approve items 4, 5, and 6. Item 7, consideration and possible action on a rezoning request from Cornerstone Community Church located at 14740 Liberty Street. Item A, acceptance of the final report from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Item B, convene into public hearing to hear comments on the proposed rezoning of the property. Item C, consideration and approval of an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Montgomery, Texas, amending the zoning classifications as defined in the City Code of Ordinances, Chapter 98, zoning for a .295 acre tract situated in the John Corner Survey, abstract number 8, Montgomery County, Texas, commonly referred to as a portion of the 14740 Liberty Street, Montgomery County, Texas, from R1 Single Family Residential Zoning District as found on the city's official zoning map to I Institutional Zoning District classification, and to amend the official zoning map, providing a savings clause, providing a repealing clause, and providing an effective date upon passage and publication.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Corcoran.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So the first item, again, you'll notice that this was, there were 3 steps in this action item. The first is to receive the final recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'll be happy to answer any thoughts or questions you have on it. Before we do that, or before we move into the public hearing, I'll recommend a motion to accept the final report. Just for clarity, that would make that state law requirement. And again, I'll be happy to discuss the Planning and Zoning final report, but in summary, they recommend to rezone the property to institutional. Again, this was a portion of a lot that was south of the Cornerstone Church. They bought a third of an acre. They're asking to rezone it to institutional. During the public comment, I believe I put in a memo that we did have one resident who had received the letter. He just called to understand, just to make sure he understood the details of the request. And he didn't object to it at all, just wanted to be sure he understood.
Would this allow them to build a parking lot if they wanted to? We wouldn't have to rezone if they...
We wouldn't have to rezone
Okay,
it, we would
good.
go through whatever development process, if it was for a building or a parking lot.
Okay. Good.
Any other questions? So we need a motion for 7A, acceptance of the final report of the Planning and Zoning Commission first.
I make a motion that we accept the final report from the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Motion by Pat, do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Casey. The motion is debatable, amendable, requires a majority vote. All in favor of approving item 7A, acceptance of the final report of the Planning and Zoning Commission, say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, say no. And we will approve. Item 7A. On to 7B, it is B, C. So now we go to,
We will convene into a public hearing now and get an opportunity for public.
okay, so it is 6:22, and we will enter into public hearing. Anyone with comments?
I think the only other thing I remember from that hearing was that there was a concern about lights, if they were going to make it into a parking lot, that they would shine in the back of those homes in Buffalo Springs, so.
Concern about lighting shining into Buffalo Spring.
Do we have a zoning ordinance on commercial lighting?
We do have a
That's what I thought.
requirement for institutional or commercial properties that adjoin single family. They have to use what are called full cutoff fixtures.
Yeah.
Which basically is a shield or a shroud over the lights.
And there's a height
Thought we had
requirement
something.
too. There's a height
There is.
thing
Yes, sir.
that goes with it.
Lights, there is a height requirement on this as well, so.
Any other comments? Okay, I'm gonna at least let it be 6:23 before I do. All right, it's 6:23 and we are back into session. Item C.
So this is the actual ordinance that would rezone the third of an acre to institutional from single family.
Any concerns or questions? Okay, entertain a motion on item C.
I make a motion that we adopt the ordinance as presented to rezone the property to institution.
C, as stated, say yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed, say no. And we will approve item 7C. Consideration and possible action, item 8A, discussion on an ordinance adopting the standards of care for the 2023 youth programs.
Thanks, Mayor. Mr. Montgomery.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You have the ordinance in front of you. The reason for adopting this ordinance is with the start of our youth programs. We did receive a temporary exemption for the spring day camp because it was only 2 days. But one of the requirements to receive an exempt status from the state is to pass a standard of care yearly through council. So this is the first version of it. We'll bring it back yearly, probably at the end of the year to start fresh for the beginning of the calendar year. So no doubt had a chance to read through it. Would like to thank Ms. Patricia Campuzano for putting this together. She did all the work on this. And she did a really good job. Be happy to answer any questions on it. As far as the legalities of it, of course, Alan's up to speed with all this and can answer any legal questions on it.
I thought it was pretty thorough and well put together.
Yes, sir.
What I would expect to see when working with minors, especially good job on that. But I would encourage us to lead the way when it comes to background checks. There's so many different levels of background checks. And I would like to see our city make sure we're the highest level. Because you just, whether it's church or whether it's these days especially, you really got to do, if it's FBI, I mean, I don't know the highest. I know what it can be in a church setting. I'd like to go that high or higher. I'm just putting that out there because we can't just do a flippant job at that when we're working with the minors and representing the city. So I just encourage you to do that. The language is there, but it doesn't specify, what type of background search we might use for these.
I just have a few questions regarding the program. How's it being funded?
So I couldn't quite hear you, I'm sorry.
How's it being funded?
The running the camp itself, there will partially be the fees that we bring in from the sign-up fees, that we get. And then we are taking the rest of it out of the public works budget for the year.
And who's running the program?
By paper, it's me. And our recreation specialist is the one that's creating the program and doing the training and setting everything up.
And do you have community support? Have you surveyed the community?
No, we haven't surveyed the community. We had the spring break camp, and I would say for the first go round of us doing anything, we had 9 participants one day. We were supposed to have 7 the second, but a couple of them didn't show up.
And was this all children from the city or from the outlying areas?
Both. So we had some from within the city limits and then some from outside the city. We want to open it up to both, with, of course, the residents having first priority.
And do you have a written summary of the program as far as content goes? And
But not for the summer camp yet. That's being worked on right now. So all of the plans for it are still being made. This was key, was getting this, because we have to get the actual license from the state to be able to go through with it. So this is not specific to, the standard of care is not specific for one certain program. It's to be able to hold the program
Right.
in general.
And the qualifications for the person running that program, I would think, would be able to have had some past experience working with children.
Yes, she does.
Okay. And who will do the program evaluation to determine if it was effective
That would be
and if the money is being well spent?
Yeah, that'll be interdepartment. It'll be myself and Patricia.
And you'll make the council aware of your findings. I'm concerned that we're creating another bureaucracy where there may or may not be enough demand for something like this.
Well, the common thing that we keep hearing in this town, and I heard it already in this meeting once, was there's nothing for the kids to do in this town. So this is an attempt to try to make something happen on that.
Absolutely.
So, I've been hearing the need for it, maybe not specifically for a summer camp, but just for something for the kids to do. We hope we can grow on it and build a program maybe similar to what Conroe has. Is what we're hoping. I think the need is there. There's no doubt the need is there, or the desire is there anyway. We hear it all the time.
So it talks about minimum staffing. Is that a state requirement? Do they dictate our minimum staff?
It's whatever we decide, whatever we feel comfortable with.
The minimum staffing requirements. What are we doing to promote it, to get some of, because this is the first I've heard of it, so.
Well, we didn't want to promote it until we made sure that we get everything through the state. But we will put it on Facebook and we'll advertise it on the website, and we'll start on that hard and heavy once we get the exempt status from the state. Definitely don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Sure.
On that.
What's the cost of it for an individual child?
We haven't determined that yet. So for the spring break camp, it was, I believe it was $30.
35.
35, yeah. So with a week-long camp, we'll probably just charge a flat rate for the entire week, but we haven't worked on those details out yet. And like I said, this is not specific to. This is not saying the whole summer camp program is planned and ready to go. This is just getting that next step to be able to do it. But Patricia's working on all of that.
Right. Just a suggestion, once we start to promote it, maybe we could reach out for, what's the word I'm looking for? Lost it. Lost it. Sponsorships for children.
Gotcha.
Right? Because a week long, it may be $100, might be $200, you don't know. So maybe we could, when we promote it, maybe we could offer sponsorship opportunities.
We have talked about that, and to just talk about the general idea, we don't have a definite plan on it yet, but we have talked about the need for that. So Patricia she's got experience from the city of Conroe, and they had a program like that over there where city-sponsored or a grant. It's something that we could go to MEDC for and see if they're willing to help participate. So yeah, it's definitely it's thought about, and we're talking about it.
Cool. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure that the city understands the business that you're about to get into with dealing with the children, providing services, and that we are prepared to manage the risks that go along with that.
Okay, fair enough.
Any other discussion under item A? Okay, item B is public comment, public hearing. And so it is 6:32. Enter into public comment, public hearing. Anyone have something to add?
I'd like to add that I think that this is a great idea. I signed my kids up for spring break camp, and although we completely forgot to show up, sorry, Mike, even though we paid, my concern is that going into summer on a week-long camp, that this is something that we could outsource and not do as a city and not have a liability, because Girl Scout and Boy Scout programs are always looking for spaces to do day camps. And as a person who hosted a Girl Scout day camp that had an attendance of over 300 people within a community, this would be something super simple to turn over to a community project or even to a local church to bring them in for community involvement and reduce the liability of the city. So I would suggest that you consider partnering as a combination effort with Public Works and Parks to another outside nonprofit that bears more of the burden than the city. Here's my suggestion.
I'd like to echo that with the risk part. I mean, there's a lot of risks to get hurt or say that something happened to them and roped or touched or whatever. I mean, there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts, and that could put the city in great liability. And how many resources did we use for the spring break camp? Were there 2 guys from Public Works and then a girl? Yeah. And we made $490. And we used 3 resources for 2 days. Is that right? Or is it every day?
It was 2 days, we used,
I think that echoes your comments about that as the city getting involved. So, yeah, we got to just follow on. We have way too many groups out here that are just of a giving nature that would come to this, supply the need for this as it grows and continues. And they would probably be better at marketing and advertising it as well within their own organizations and the partnering organizations there.
And I think another thing too, besides as a licensed foster parent who had to do FBI background checks, you see every day on the news how a foster parent abused a kid or sex trafficked them. It's happening all across Harris County right now. They're federally licensed with background checks, so you can background check someone all day long. But a better safeguard and protection for these kiddos is to create a policy of 2 deep leadership. You have 2 people at the bathroom so that there's 2 adults. It brings in an added layer of accountability for these kiddos to protect them. And I hate that we even live in this world today, but that's just the reality. Background check may or may not cover what's coming in your front door, especially if we're talking about outside of our city included, not just our city limits.
And we can manage those kinds of risks by assuring that we've got qualified people in place. You get in a court of law and they ask, well, who ran your program? Well, a person that had a year's experience working, but with no real certifications or qualifications. So we can manage that kind of risk, but we've got to be careful who we put in charge of people's children.
The last thing we want is a headline news of
Yeah.
City of Montgomery runs summer camp and kids are sex trafficked or whatever, fill in the blank.
Yeah, we don't want that. All right. I think we've heard quite a bit of caution on this, and for me as well, it seems rushed. Summer's a month away, and we got a lot of questions here. Any other comments? 6:36, we're back into session. Item C, consideration possible action on an ordinance adopting the standards of care for 2023 for youth programs offered by the City of Montgomery, Texas, providing that this ordinance is cumulative providing a severability clause, and providing effective date. We've had a lot of caution on this.
So my question, Alan, so if we pass the adopting of the standards of care, it doesn't necessarily say we're going to do the program, it just says we have the framework to do it, right?
That is correct.
Right.
This would allow the city to get licensed by the state to have a youth program, but you don't have to have a youth program. It just gives you the ability to then do it if the city so chooses.
I move that we adopt the ordinance, adopting the standards of care for the 2023 youth program as presented.
I second.
Motion by Pat, second by Casey. Motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. Again, this is just an ordinance to approve the framework, not necessarily move forward. All in favor of approving item C as stated, say yes.
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 Anyone opposed, say no, and we will approve. Item 9, calling a public hearing for a rezoning request from R1 Single Family Residential to B Commercial for a .552 acre parcel of land located at 14640 Liberty Street as submitted by Evan Ballou.
Mr. McCorkadell.
Thank you, council. This request came into us last month. This is for another property on Liberty Street on the right, just before you go downhill. And where Kimberly used to live, that's where Kimberly used to live.
Yes, we know.
Yeah, the information in front of you again, like the last rezoning, the first step was to call a public hearing. So that's what the motion is here tonight.
Okay, and the recommendation window is what we need to express. Questions? Entertain a motion.
This is the motion for the public hearing?
Yes, just for the hearing.
Make a motion to call public hearing on a rezoning request for May 9th, 2023 at 6 p.m.
You have a motion by Casey. Do I have a second?
I second.
Seconds by Pat. Motion's debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of setting a public hearing for the rezoning request for May the 9th, 2023 at 6 p.m. Item 9, say yes.
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 Anyone opposed, say no. And we will approve 3-0. Item 10, consideration and possible action regarding the bid results for the flagship Boulevard Storm Sewer and Pavement Replacement Project.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll defer to our city engineer.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. On March 30th, we received bids for the flagship Boulevard Storm Sewer Pavement Replacement Project. We received 7 bids. The low bidder was about $573,000, and they ran from $573 to $802 for that project. That was way over what we had in the budget for that project. A lot of change, alternates that have been considered throughout that led to that in the packet. You see a summary from me regarding those and some alternates going forward on rebidding the project and breaking it up into chunks that fit within the budget we have. What has changed since this memo went out and changes as of this afternoon is we were going back through budgets and finding additional funds, and we're specifically regarding the intersection of Buffalo Springs and Lone Star Park. So we had a conversation with the county today where they have submitted the city plans this morning for to put a traffic signal at that location and move a roundabout and not enter into an interlocal agreement with the city so they can fund the project themselves. So in your budget, you have $305,000 to go toward that intersection improvements project. Right now, based on, as of earlier today, the county will proceed due to when they got in cost estimates since the last time they did. It came in north of $750,000, $800,000, which is more than they had budgeted for the project. So what they're wanting to do is proceed with a signal and turn lanes on Lone Star Parkway at Buffalo Springs, and pay for those as the county without city participation. So what that does is it opens up $305,000 in the budget, plus some other projects that have come in. So our recommendation tonight, regardless of what's said on here, is to table action on this item. Let us finish budget amendments with staff, bring that back at your next council meeting with action to award the project to the low bidder to go ahead and get the entirety of the storm sewer work that was bid out and the pavement work completed versus rebidding it and doing just a small portion.
So your recommendation is to table?
That's correct. Until the next meeting.
I don't remember offhand. What did we originally budget for it? Does it mean?
175 for
Right.
construction costs. The original draft budget was 250. We then cut it down, and then bids came in high. So there was a portion of, there was additional work that was identified from there that wasn't in the original scope, so that was included. And most prices were pretty close, but some of the big ticket items, just the concrete pipe price itself was extremely high. Everything else was relatively close, but it was, kind of 2x on some of the concrete pipe.
Any other questions? Okay, entertain a motion to take his recommendation to table. If we do, we need to state 4/25/23, the next meeting.
I make a motion that we table item number 10, Flagship Boulevard Storm Sewer Pavement Replacement Project till 4/25/23.
There is a motion to table until 4/25/23. I need a second.
A second.
Second is by Pat. Motion is debatable, amendable, requires majority vote. All in favor of tabling item 10 until 4/25/23 meeting, say yes.
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 Anyone opposed, say no. And we will table item 10 until 4/25/23 meeting. Thank you. Executive session, we have none. Council inquiry.
So I received some, 2 emails from people in the city, and it goes to kind of our ongoing topic for this evening with the youth of our community. The inquiry was about a basketball court or tennis court somewhere in our city. We really don't have one. We do have some city property though that we don't use. So maybe there's an opportunity to kill a few birds, right? One stone.
You have to look into something?
Maybe just kick something around, see what we can find, what we can come up with. Someplace for some activity. I know we have a nice park, but unless you just want to run around in crunchy sticks when it gets hot outside, it's about as good for it. So.
Yeah, that area that we own off Clipper's got some nice shade. It's got a nice shady space. It really makes sense for recreation use of sorts.
Got it.
Any others? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor say yes.
Yes.
And it is 6:45 and we are adjourned.